Sarah and Max, an unlikely pair in this wild podcast. They're the perfect flair. Sarah's charm, so feminine and free. A Cali girl spirit under the podcast tree. Max, a strong force with a punch in every word. Together, they navigate the dating absurd. Don't forget to hit subscribe, join the crew for more laughs and tales just for you. Now back to the show.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Good for Shidduchim. I am your host, Sarah Levine. Along with me, I have my co-host, Max Landisman.
You know it.
Today we're actually recording a little earlier than usual, so forgive me if I'm a little sluggish or a little...
You actually seem very, very up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm like, I guess because I'm usually up by 5, and like
Crazy.
today I had to wake up at 8, and I'm like, oh my God, why can't I sleep longer?
Yeah.
But...
You will.
Okay.
You will. We're going to Florida today.
I know. Oh, yeah. We have to. We're going to Miami tonight. Oh, man.
I usually would say
I'm very nervous.
I usually would say it's good for shidduchim, but going to Florida, is it good for shidduchim?
I don't
Not
know.
sure. I don't think it's good for shidduchim.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I hope it's not like super crowded, and also it looks like the weather is not so hot down in Miami, so I'm nervous I'm not going to be able to go on the beach.
Oh, I love the fact that it's not hot.
I know.
But it's still hot though. Like it's like here I'm wearing a winter coat. Over there it's like 70 degrees. So like
Max,
that,
I feel like you're going to go down in your shorts and your flip-flops like on the plane here.
shorts, correct. I don't own flip-flops. I don't believe in those.
Oh,
those
okay.
I can't understand how you have that thing between your toes and that's comfortable.
Well, what about like the oat ones?
No,
or like
I didn't go to YU.
Oh,
so,
gotcha.
you know.
Gotcha.
But, I don't know. The oat were always like, I felt like I was always priced out. They used to be like really expensive.
They were really expensive.
I was there was like a phase of that, but I never really wore them. I just wear like the cheap whatever.
Yeah. But I feel like you're going to get on like a 20-degree like area like on our plane in Newark and be in shorts.
Probably, but
and short sleeves, like ready for Florida weather.
Yeah, but let's talk about Florida another time. We have a guest today.
Oh my God, yes. Okay. See, I'm sorry. I'm not on my A game. No, I'm not good for shidduchim. Yeah, so today, before we get into that, I do want to talk about our Instagram page. Please follow us at Good for Shidduchim. Please email us with any questions or resumes at goodforshidduchim@gmail.com.
And for the record, we did get a resume in, which we'll hopefully be reading on the next later episode.
Yeah. That's exciting.
Yeah.
So today we do have a very special guest. I will say what she wants to talk about is not really heard about in our community and is very commendable for her to come here and very brave to tell her story. And we don't take it like lightly what she had to do to get here. So we do appreciate that.
Yeah.
And welcome, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me on today.
Yeah, of course. We're really excited to go through your story, and we're excited to hear what you have to say. And I do feel that a lot of people who are in your situation need kind of a soundboard and need to kind of be heard. So, okay, let's just get into it. The first question we wanted to ask you is we wanted you to kind of tell us about yourself. What do you do, or like your religious background and where you are now. So just kind of tell us about yourself a little bit.
Sure, I can introduce myself and tell you a little bit about my story. So I grew up in an out-of-town community, went to a Beis Yaakov, but I had very professional parents. So I'd say I probably grew up, you'd call it modern Orthodox Machmir. So part of the story, which is what we're going to talk a little bit about today, is that in my mid-20s, I met a guy and got married. And almost immediately after the wedding, I discovered that he was not the person he presented himself to be. A lot of stuff was hidden from me, and long story short, it was, extremely unhealthy very quickly. So I separated almost immediately. The process to get the get was not easy or quick. It was long and arduous, so it took about a year to get the get. But thank God, a couple years ago, I finally got it, and since then have moved to the tri-state area, where I currently am today, working in the medtech industry.
Yeah, wow. It's very powerful. I do hope a lot of shadchans listen to this podcast.
That would be awesome.
Since your divorce, how has shidduch dating or dating in general affect you? Do you feel people judge you for your past? How has that gone so far?
Yeah, so I would say dating is certainly more challenging since the divorce. I just want to say that the decision to leave the marriage for me was an incredibly courageous and empowering moment. But I found that as I re-enter the dating world, that has been used against me as a tool to shame, fear, intimidate.
Wow.
In deciding to leave, I made the decision to rescue my life, and there's nothing broken or damaged about that. I don't see myself as a victim, but, a lot of times in the dating world, people will make assumptions and narrate that victimhood for me. As far as whether I feel like I'm being judged, I don't really feel it. I'm told straight to my face, very explicitly. I can't count the number of times, somebody has told me, oh, like, I never set him up with a divorced girl, or he never dated a divorced girl. And from guys as well, like, they'll either, dump me because I'm divorced, or say, I won't date you because I'm divorced. So that is something that I've experienced pretty regularly and pretty commonly.
So just to expand on that, it's so interesting that you mentioned that you did something very courageous for yourself, and you felt that you needed to do it for yourself, for your safety, for your comfortability, for your life. And you took that step and you put yourself forward. And then at the same time, people take how you feel back. And the shidduchim, or people who try to set you up, try to take that away from you, minimalizing where you've come from and how brave you were by withdrawing or trying to get a divorce, getting a get. And so you've been through so much, and you're an independent woman. You're very strong, but at the same time, simultaneously, that's minimalized in the community, or by people that just stigmatize you just as a divorced woman.
Yeah, and I'd also add to that it's not only that, but I think people don't recognize the strength, the resilience, the courage to rebuild, the amount of work I've done on myself since then that puts me, in a really good position. And I think that is not even acknowledged at all. And instead it's exactly as you said, it's highly stigmatized still.
Yeah.
I mean, my 2 cents with a twin brother who was divorced, and when he was dating, I don't think it was anywhere near, this case, but I mean, no one really would set him up other than with another divorced person, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. But there were times where, someone would, my brother, he wanted to go to some singles event. He was not allowed to enter unless he signed up through XYZ. So in order to sign up, he put the bare minimum. He put his name. There's no picture, nothing, and then he writes in bold, divorced, right? And so then people would send him random people. Usually they'd be divorced, which is, again, it's fine. But this one particular person wrote, this person is the perfect person for you. And so my brother goes, he's like, the perfect person for me? You don't even know me. Not only that, I wrote nothing on my profile.
It literally, I think, just said his name and his age, and then marital status, divorced. And this one was like,
I've got the perfect person for you.
Perfect person.
The only thing they had in common is that this person was divorced.
Exactly. So I told Shlomi to you can play around with it. It's like, so why do you think that? And then they had a call. I told Shlomi what's going to happen. She's just going to get on the call. He's like, so what are you looking for? Right. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And she's just people don't realize that how hurtful it is in a way.
Yeah.
It's just you're just a piece of trash, or it's unbelievable.
And almost, I feel like sometimes the judgment is just
incredible.
So projected onto the divorced woman, almost like it was your fault. And
100%.
And almost like you didn't have to go through anything terrifying and traumatic, and rebuild yourself, start from the beginning.
Right.
It's like when you say divorced, it's almost like, well, why'd you do that? You had a choice. Just stay with him.
Nobody gets married thinking that they're going to get divorced. Nobody gets married wanting to get divorced.
Right.
And for women especially who have been through get abuse, get extortion, these things that aren't talked about. I know there's been a lot of attention recently on the Aguna crisis.
Yeah.
But it's not even about being an Aguna. It's about, what you have to do to get the get. So that itself is incredibly challenging. It's more than most people will experience in their lifetime. And then after that, to be faced with the resulting stigma.
Right.
Why are we piling on the trauma?
Right. And it's you go through an emotional trauma, a physical trauma. it is unimaginable. The only people that probably can like sympathize is unfortunately people that go through the same thing, but their voices are silenced.
Pretty much.
So it's hard to like get like support, I guess, unless. Is there like a support group for women?
There are
that
different
divorced?
organizations that exist. There's definitely Sister to Sister, which is a huge support system for divorced women. I think there's something similar like Brother to Brother for men, maybe.
Okay.
So, and then there's a couple of like small local ones. But I think it is really challenging to speak up, especially for single parents at times, because, you know, they live in an Orthodox community many times, let's say,
Right.
their kids' schools, you know, their kids' futures can be affected. So, you know, really sort of carefully thinking about how you present yourself and what you can say.
Right.
What I think the biggest tragedy of it all is something you expounded upon, which is this was completely out of your control. I mean, when you married the guy, like you didn't know, like as far as you know, the guy was a great guy.
So I think a lot of times, you know, people do make assumptions, and obviously I don't want to get into the details here. And I think that the divorce process is different for everyone. For me, it was an empowering moment. Some people are devastated, you know, just people react differently. But yeah, it's exactly like you're saying. It's out of my control. It's not something I wanted.
Right. Okay, so that kind of leads us into our third question here is when you meet with matchmakers or shidduchim, either just like talking in general to people, I guess, about dating, do you feel like you have to advocate for yourself all the time and like in those terms, like you have to advocate, you try not to stigmatize the divorce title. You have to prove yourself like, okay, like I'm not just a divorced woman. Like, don't just picture me in that way. You know what I mean?
That's a great question. 100% I feel like I do have to advocate for myself. I don't necessarily feel like I have to prove anything. Like I don't see myself as a victim. I don't see myself as, you know, the way they might see me. So I think that sort of naturally comes across. But I think I have to advocate for myself in terms of finding different avenues. Because, you know, if somebody is going to treat me like garbage, I don't think it's my stadless to continue to engage with them. So I think I have to advocate for myself in terms of finding, you know, different avenues to meet people, get myself out there in person. You know, a lot of times when people try and set me up, you know, even my friends and well-meaning people and, you know, they mean like the best and they love me and they'll say to the guy, oh, well, you go out with a divorced girl. Well, what if you changed that and said, you know, I know an incredibly professional, highly accomplished, beautiful woman who happened to have been married for 5 seconds. Yeah. You know, how does that change their narrative there?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're gonna, what I think they should ask, you know, this is coming from my brother, who's like, don't write somebody off right away, but maybe just find out a little bit more of what happened, right? Like, do you feel like that's a better way of going about?
I think that really would depend on the person because some people really value their privacy. But personally, for me, what I appreciate is somebody who does know my story, who can speak to that a little bit so that, you know, this is not something that, you know, happened years ago. It was a part of my life. I've rebuilt and I don't want to like spend my first date focusing on it. So when I have somebody who knows me, who supports me, and who can advocate for me beforehand so that I don't have to repeat it, I find that very helpful.
Right. I mean, I don't mean like talking about it on the first date, but before someone goes out, I'm sure they probably want to know, like, because I think it's just the first thing that they think of. They're making an assumption like, oh, there must have been fighting, it must have been X, Y, Z.
Right.
Or maybe she's crazy, you know, like... I mean, I think
it's definitely, like, I am a very open person, so I think it's definitely fair to ask, and I don't mind people asking. I think that sometimes people don't realize that they're asking insensitively or inappropriately. So for me, it's always helpful to have
it's like
that.
a job interview, right?
Yeah.
They have no emotion at all.
Right. Or they're not tactful. They're
because like I'm just a piece of paper, right? At that point. So I don't mind the questions, but I do always find it helpful to have that third party who can kind of advocate for me and speak to it.
It's kind of like a sports agent. There's a buffer in between because there are certain things that actually get said in a meeting room that the players should not hear at all, but they really just mean business. It's nothing personal. In this case, if you have a friend or an advocate that knows your story and things, I mean, I would agree that they would be the best because you don't have to deal with all that crap.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
Just unbelievable because I did see it for a short while with Shlomo. I mean, this stuff like this happened to Shlomo. You'll just and it wasn't even. I don't know. It just. Whatever. I have nothing nice to say about whatever.
I mean, if they do want to bring it up, just bring it up in a more sensitive, tactful way, and like not just have a painted picture of, oh, she's divorced. Like she's a
Right.
person. She's a whole person.
You know, maybe you could think about something that you might be sensitive to, and how would you feel if somebody asked you inappropriate questions from the get-go?
I also want to say, I feel like sometimes people forget that there's two people in a divorce. You
Yeah.
know, like I feel like you're a very respectable person, so you don't want to like bash him in any way or whatever.
Right, of course.
Whatever happened, and like I feel like people kind of get a little more curious or disrespect the other person's like boundaries in that area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, does that happen as well? Like, do they want to know so much about him?
Definitely. I think that's sometimes where a lot of the inappropriate questions come from. And I always try and keep in mind, like, what's the goal? Like, I don't want to engage in any bashing of anyone. So I'll usually have a line like, you know, it was unhealthy, and it happened immediately, and I was completely unaware, and, you know, things were hidden.
Yeah.
And kind of just leave it at that. And I have actually, there were some witnesses in my case, which was amazing. So what I'll usually do is I'll say, you know, I understand if you have further questions, and you can just please speak to this person if you
Wow.
want to know anything else.
You had
Wow.
witnesses as far as what? What do you mean?
So thank God it was amazing in my case. I actually had a rabbi and rebbitzin in the community who witnessed the behavior. And if it hadn't been for them, like, I still don't know if I'd ever have been believed.
Wow. So you're okay with people, if they need a talk, they can speak to this rabbi and
Yep,
Rebbitzin?
and this rabbi
Yeah.
and rebbitzin were actually references for my ex, and I was a complete stranger. So
wow.
I was incredibly fortunate because, you know, that's something that most people
Yeah.
don't get. So
Incredible.
Right. People only change sides for one reason: the truth.
We sure hope so, Max. You want to read the next question?
Obviously, it sounds like dealing with shidduchim is very difficult. You did touch upon like branching out to different avenues. Have you gone to singles events, and what has happened at those events? Has that been better for you in general? What was your experience like?
yeah, I'd say I definitely try to go to as many events as possible. I think I'm my own best representative. So when I appear in person, when I interact with people in person, I think I generally get more yield from that. So I think it's been more successful overall, but I think that the stigma still exists. Like, let's say I go to a singles event and I get 10 guys who are interested. You know, the moment
Damn,
I tell
10
them, I'm just giving like an example.
I don't get 10 guys to say
I'm
yes
not.
to me.
I've never had 10 guys say yes to me.
Yeah.
Okay, starting with a large number. I'm not saying I get 10 guys every event, but yeah, let's say I get a bunch of guys who are interested in me. I know that the moment, you know, I tell them my story or that I'm divorced, I'll get an immediate, you know, I don't date a divorced woman, and I'll, you know, kind of get that rejection. So I think that you know, is still an issue that exists in our community. So I like to be as honest as possible, but I also think that there's a time and a place.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of feel it out on the first 2 dates, I would say. But I don't want to, you know, date somebody long term without them knowing it. Of
course.
But it's not always appropriate to just kind of like announce.
I feel like it's kind of like, you know, the first 10 minutes of an interview and you're already asking for your salary. Like, it's just, you know,
Yeah.
it's not something you talk about like right away.
I mean, it depends. Like, I like to be as open as possible,
Right.
but, you know, if the person is not receptive, or I feel like, you know, this is not a situation that I want to put myself in, I'll just, you know, kind of feel it out.
Right.
To be honest, I'm still trying to figure out like exactly how and when the best way to
Yeah.
say that is. It's like, how do you just kind of, you know, announce that? So that's definitely.
You could be like my husband and just not tell me.
When did Shlomi say it?
I didn't even know.
Sarah just found out like last week.
I think like
As long as the
my
shidduchim
friend
is clear.
I think my friend had mentioned something, but wasn't like. But then we like veered off on conversation.
Sounds like Zelly.
So I couldn't. I either like it was kind of a mixture of like forgetfulness and also like I wasn't even sure like his past, like what had happened, whatever. But he brought it up, I think, on the 4th or 5th date, kind of casually, thinking that I already knew. And I was like, wait, what?
Oh,
But
wow.
I mean,
So
I
that was
would say like,
So can I ask, like, how did you feel or how did you react when he told you? Was it like dropping a bombshell? Or
no,
you just...
no, not at all. To be honest, I think it was a really good time for him. If I hadn't known, oh my God, if I hadn't known, we were pretty much like invested in already like being monogamously dating.
Right.
So
We know that definitely from the third date. As the famous question was, what are your intentions?
a girl's gonna know.
Uh-huh.
Agreed.
So, it didn't bother me at all, I will say. And we were already very communicative, and from like what I really liked about him, it just didn't matter, you know. But I will say questions did arise, obviously. I mean, that's a given. Like, I felt that I was entitled to at least like clarification with some things, but it didn't define him.
Yeah. Thank you for recognizing that.
I do.
Defining it, yeah.
I do recall you've seen him at a singles event, right? But he wasn't single. He was running the event.
Yeah.
Did you remember him at all from that? You did.
Yeah.
So like,
I asked about him at the event.
I know. Yeah. Is that crazy or what?
And my friend was like, Sarah, he's off limits. And I was like, well, I'm going to go.
Right. By the way, what she didn't say was like, and they're like, but he has a brother. And then she said, I'm going to go.
No, that's not. I didn't know he had a twin.
But like, no one knows how to upsell. Like, you know, Shlomi's taken, but like his brother's available. I have yet to basically benefit.
But
Should've.
yeah.
So like you'd be on like what, a second date, and you'd like bring up casually, it's like, by the way, like how does that go down? Like how does that go down? And
So I try and think of like good ways to preface it, I guess. I also think like I think Shlomi told you a little bit later. Like
I
right,
think
like,
he told me later. He brought it up later because he
he thought you knew.
because he thought I knew.
Yeah.
And I really didn't know.
Right.
So I think he brought it up casually later. And I was like, wait, what?
Shlomi is the master of bringing stuff up casually.
And
I need that skill because like I try and think of ways to preface it like, oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know, like kind of keep it casual, but also like, you know, I think this is important to share.
right. I will say, I feel like it's such a personal and invasive fact about you that it just makes it sound, it just sounds a little better to bring it up. I don't know, like a little when you feel like you're going to be invested in a relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yes, I would like that, but also like sometimes I think like how would I feel if somebody kind of didn't tell me fourth or fifth date? Would I feel like they were kind of holding out on me or not being completely honest?
Yeah, not like not too far into the relationship, but you also you don't want to be giving this information to like a random guy who like you don't know really if it's going to go anywhere.
Exactly. So I think that could mean different things to different people. Like maybe some people will be like, okay, I'm invested after the second date, or maybe sometimes like, okay, maybe it'll take 4 or 5 or 6 times. For me personally, I always think earlier is better because, you know, if you treat me a certain way, I don't want to continue. So I'd rather know that from the get-go. But I think that's also like, again, like a very personal decision and thing to decide.
It's very personal. I don't think it gets any more personal.
Right. Yeah. It's literally a personal fact. Yeah. Have you experienced negative interactions with shadchans just because you are divorced? And do you have like experiences you can share with us, like personal interactions with shadchans that they've said to you? And then any advice for divorced men and divorced women going through the dating process?
Yeah, these are great questions.
We only ask good questions here.
Can answer the first one is yes, I've definitely had negative interactions, but I would say like I wouldn't put it all in shadchans. I think really kind of from everyone in the community, from guys, from people who are trying to set me up, from people who are well-meaning. I think I can kind of like almost categorize the negative interactions. and give examples. So there's kind of like the overt, the explicit, the inappropriate. So one example of that is I was talking to a shadchan, and I was just, giving her a little intro about myself, and I, mentioned that I was briefly married, and she was like, a single guy, they only want to marry virgins, so there's nothing I can help you with.
And someone who wasn't married was a virgin, obviously, right?
Or just any assumptions, even within a marriage itself.
What did I say? What did I say? Yeah. A previous podcast, I said that, and Sarah didn't believe me.
Oh, what did you say? You said
I'm like,
a virgin?
they want to marry a virgin, but an expert at sex.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Well, actually, even a guy. So I was out with a guy, and I also, told him that I was, very briefly married. And he goes, "Oh, well, are you a virgin?" First date.
Oh my God.
You gotta be
First
kidding
date.
me.
Yeah, so I'd say that's kind of like one end of the spectrum, which is obviously very explicit, very inappropriate. I think the other explicit is when they tell me like, "Oh, I'm not dating you because you're divorced," and I was like, okay. So that's sort of the overt.
That is insane.
Yeah, I think that it also affects me more subtly. Like, for example, on Max's favorite website, YU Connects and Adopt a Shadchan and all of that. Exactly, what we were saying earlier is that I'll get very low quality suggestions, and I'll only get...
That's just the site in general, just...
Right, it can be, but like, I've also noticed, like, I'll be interacting with somebody in the community, and I won't, like, I'll just present myself, and then they'll find out that I'm divorced, and then the quality of the suggestions will change almost immediately.
Oh
and I'll
my
only
God.
be, again, set up with divorced people. So, I know a website is a website, but I think it kind of happens universally as well.
Right.
So I'd say like kind of that's the more subtle way. And I think also, as you mentioned, events. At first I thought like, okay, I have nothing to hide. I did nothing wrong, and I would, put it on my resume and my profile, and I wouldn't have any problem talking about it. And then I realized, the Rebbitzins organization, the Rebbitzin Shabbaton, does not accept divorced women. So many events that I go to, they ask for marital status in the Google form sign up. And the moment you put divorced, you see everyone else from your friend group get accepted and not you.
Oh my God.
So I think those are some of the more subtle ways that it affects me.
That I feel like being passive aggressive about it is so much worse.
Yeah.
That
because
is
it's like also
very
then you never
hurtful.
know, and then you're like, wait, is it because of this? Is it because of that? And then
They
it's
don't
like
give you a
very,
reason?
very... So not always. Like I think when they do give me a reason, it would fall into like the more explicit, like, oh, because you're divorced. Like,
Right.
Rebbitzins network is very explicit.
I guess you would only assume, which is even makes you feel like crap. Like that it's not.
Well, it's sort of othering me. It's turning me
Yes.
into the other. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And exactly, it's they're not physically accepting you.
Yeah.
Like you have this emotional of unacceptance, and then they're physically unaccepting you now.
Yeah.
That's
exactly
crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'm sure it's also categorized for guys. Maybe we'll be able to get a divorced guy, a divorcee.
Yeah, who do we know that was divorced before?
I don't know.
Well, I'm wondering if it kind of affects divorced men and women differently.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
But like, it's hurtful.
Yeah.
Just generally, I'm sure men are hurt. I'm sure, and from your case, women are definitely hurt.
Yeah.
But like, that's just like hurtful, because it shouldn't matter. In my opinion, it shouldn't matter who you're setting up, right? Like if you want people to get married, if you feel that you're a matchmaker and your sole purpose is to have people fall in love, get married, and start a life together, then why does it matter X, Y, Z? You know, it's just baffles my mind that people want they seek perfection to set up.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that's not realistic.
Yes, it's not.
Just bull crap, as I said the whole time. Everything's on a resume. This person went to this and that, whatever. If you read it, it's not a real, like, if I read to you Moshe Rabbeinu's shidduch resume, he'd get crushed. Who
would want to set up?
By the way, he
Moshe
was also divorced. He married an Egyptian woman before, right?
I know.
Right? Was he not?
I guess so.
He killed somebody, right? Because he was defending a Jew. I mean, he had a lisp. Who wants to go with that guy?
I mean, if you look at Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, like everyone, they all also,
they have their own imperfections, and
That's
everybody has imperfections.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're trying to sell a product of perfection instead of the person.
if Moshe Rabbeinu
It's
will
not
get crushed.
even just
Yeah.
perfection. Like, why does being divorced make me not perfection?
No,
Like,
that's what
that's
I'm
a
saying.
superficial status to kind of base like
It's based on
like
an
your
assumption.
right, exactly. It's also very superficial. It's like saying, you know, only a person who wears a certain kind of shirt is considered perfect.
Well, yeah.
Or a
Also,
certain
like
skin
for
color.
women, it's like a certain dress size
Yeah,
is perfect.
exactly.
For
So
guys,
you
For
men,
pick
it's
on-
height.
For guys, it's a Charles white 12
there you
shirt.
go. There you go. But for guys, it's height. There's a perfect height.
Yeah, don't even get me
So
started
you
on that one.
develop a very superficial measuring stick
Mm-hmm.
of what is like quote unquote good or not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as what advice I would have for other, you know, divorced men and women navigating the dating world, I would say, you know, don't focus exclusively on dating and the shidduch system to build a life outside the system. You know, find different interests and hobbies. You may have to feel your way into a life you didn't expect. So I think that there's definitely a lot of uncertainty in trying to figure that out. Like, what comes next? Where do I find meaning? You know, what things outside of a marriage do I find fulfilling and important to me? So this gives you an opportunity to live an intentional life, even if it isn't the life that you expected.
Right. So more of not just hyper focusing on just being married, period.
Yeah, like I think it's really, really challenging. So it could become almost like your sole focus, but I think it's really important to kind of, you know, take a little bit of a step away and, you know, develop yourself outside of that. And, you know, there are so many factors in the dating world that you can't control. So I think it's just really also good to, you know, focus on the things you could control and the things that make you happy.
Yeah.
And then the second thing I would say is, and I hope that I'm kind of articulating this concept well, but there's like this concept that power is who you give it to, right? So for example, if I say, oh, you know, the shidduchim have power in determining, you know, who I go out with, or they have power in determining, you know, who I end up with, and that's the kind of the system will rule over you. But, you know, we always say like God is the ultimate shadchan. So
Right.
if you know, take a step back and realize, you know, I don't even need a shadchan
Right.
per se. I don't even need the system per se, because, you know, we believe in God and we
Right.
believe that he's running the world. So then you'll kind of be freed from the shackles of the system. And that's also like something that is a little bit of a pet peeve for me, is that like, oh, I feel like I have to, you know, put up with this kind of treatment and behavior, like because I'm doing my hishtadlus. So you don't need to allow yourself to be treated like garbage for the sake of hishtadlus. Like there's no
Amen.
hishtadlus in allowing yourself
Yeah.
to be abused. So it is sometimes difficult to know like what you're supposed to be doing, but you never have to like feel like, oh, I have to put up with this because. So I think that there could be, you know, other ways to find your hishtadlus, even if that's almost like taking a break from the system or, you know, doing other things for the moment. And I also think it's really important to surround yourself, like find the people who support you, who treat you with dignity and respect and recognize your worth. And also just don't limit that support to looking in the Jewish communities. Like there's no reason a good therapist, a coach, a counselor, a coworker, a non-Jewish colleague or friend can't be that source of support as well. So just kind of like, you know, widening or broadening your horizons.
It was very interesting what you said about allowing the shachins to have power. I feel like a lot of, I did for a while, because you're told like you have to
Yeah.
have
Right.
this and this and do
Where it's
this
like, I
and
know
this.
why you're not married and this is what you have to do. If
Right.
You want
She's
me to
like,
set you
I've
up."
been doing this for X amount of years.
Right.
And so I know. And you're just like, okay, well, I guess if I don't want to be single by the time of blah, blah, I guess I have to like listen to her. And
Yeah.
at one point I literally was like, I'm just not rewriting my resume. I wrote my resume so many times because so many shachins were like, you have to put
Oh
this
my
on and
gosh,
this on. You
yes.
have to look this way.
How many
and
times
like
can
this
you write
way.
Yeah,
family
and
oriented?
pictures. Everyone has a opinion
Yeah.
on your picture and why you should use
Yes,
a different one,
yeah.
right?
Pictures on your makeup. I mean, oh my gosh, they say something about your makeup and your hair and your dress and your this.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, why aren't you wearing heels in your picture? You're like, oh my gosh, like I didn't want that anymore.
Just
so
give
I
them
was
your
like,
Google
eh.
photo book and be like, here.
Right. But so I also didn't want that. I was like, I don't have the time and energy for this. So I just kind of like,
Right, but also if God is running the world, like it's really not that important. The right person will come along at the right time and
Yeah.
see what they're
you
supposed
get
to
involved
see.
with the greatest shachin to ever walk this earth.
yeah.
Yeah.
Who, Max?
You know it. You know it.
I was gonna say.
Before we end off, was there anything you'd like to add or something we didn't cover that you like to talk about?
Yeah, so I just want to add that sometimes, the way people talk to me or react to me is almost as if I'm an exception. And, I'll be talking to different people from different communities, and there's this perception that, oh, it happened to me, but it doesn't happen in to me, meaning me, but it doesn't happen in our community. Or I'll be talking to a yeshivish person, and they'll say, oh, it doesn't happen in the modern Orthodox community. And I'll talk to a modern Orthodox person, and they'll say, oh, it doesn't happen in the yeshivish community. And I just think it's important to recognize it could really happen to anyone, anywhere, and unfortunately it does. So just to, instead of kind of burying our heads in the sand, just to realize that, this can really happen anywhere, and it's independent of hashkafa and religiousness, and just to kind of, be aware of it and be sensitive to it when you encounter it.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, that's a nice thought. All right, Rachel, thank you so much for discussing everything. And before we leave, we just wanted to
Thought of the
say
day.
our thought of the day.
Shidduchim.
You go first, Max.
No, so you have to tell Rachel what thought of the day is.
Oh, just a random thought that you think about repetitively of the day. But honestly,
something that just
it's
came
not
up,
even
yeah.
10 a.m. So
Yeah.
something that maybe you like repetitively think about.
Oh, wow.
Or
this
happened
is
to
very
you-
revealing.
or happened to you recently that you just like, it could be like completely random that you just like to just mention.
Yeah.
But
You
do
go
you need
first,
a minute?
So do we all go through
We're
the
all
thought?
gonna go.
We're all gonna
We're
go?
all gonna go.
You don't have to if you don't want
Okay,
to.
so you guys go first so I can get an idea of the thought of the day.
Fine. Can I go?
Yeah, go, Max.
So I was speaking to a girl on J Swipe, and
Jay
excuse me.
Swizzle.
J Swipe, yep, shidduchim. By the way, there's so many people who got married from J Swipe.
There are
it's
so many
incredible.
people. So
Even
many
one of our
people.
good friends, the Kramers.
Oh, yeah,
It's,
sure.
it's incredible. So anyways, so I asked her out just straight out. We were talking, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Then, believe it or not, as a guy,
Wait, is your
actually-
mic on?
Is my mic not on?
Wait, talk.
Oh, damn it.
It's not on.
No, it is on.
Oh, okay.
Can you not hear me?
Okay. Wait, talk into it?
Can you not hear me?
No, I can hear you. Okay.
There was no difference with that.
Okay, so you asked
All
a
right.
girl out on J Swipe?
So yeah, I asked this girl out on J Swipe, and then she's like, why don't we do a video call first? And if anyone's listening to the podcast up until now, I'm really into video calls. So I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, absolutely. When do you want to do it? She's like, how about now? I'm like, great. Here's my number. Call me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my Lord, she did not take that well at all. She just didn't respond for about 45 minutes.
Oh my God.
By the way, this is like repetitive, meaning like the text back and forth was like within seconds, right? It's like I send, she sends.
Wait.
And then I said that, I'm like, okay, you want to do a video call? That's great. Here's my number. Call me. Was I aware that, I'm aware, yeah, typically you ask for the girl's number, but in this case, she wanted to do the video call, so I didn't.
Right.
I wanted her to feel comfortable. I guess I'll give my number first.
Yeah.
45 minutes later, she then just sends me this message. It's kind of nasty in a way. It's
Oh
like,
my God.
I don't want to call you. I wanted you to call me. I'm like, wow, this is getting off to a great start. So what the hell? What the hell? So I don't know. As two women here, what are your thoughts about this? Listen, I'm the first to tell you if I do something wrong, I'll admit it. But I just feel like I was, ideally, yes, I would typically ask for her number so that I'll call her. But I just felt like in this case, it's just ridiculous. To get so mad all of a sudden is just so out of left field.
I honestly didn't even pick up on why she was upset, to be honest with you. I see now why, you gave her your number and she wanted you to ask for her number. I don't think that's worth getting worked up and upset about and not even calling somebody.
Right.
I think that if it bothered her, she can mention it on while she's talking to you. Hey, oh my God, I thought you were gonna ask me for my number and you just handed me your number. Come on, she should give you a break.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Rachel?
Well, I think that there were clearly misaligned expectations. She obviously expected you to ask. I think the emotional aspect, she was so upset and she was being reactive to
Yeah.
that, is probably I mean, I don't want to make assumptions, but like sometimes when people have past trauma, or maybe she's been through this dating system and she feels like guys are disrespect her or not putting in the effort, and so that reaction comes out as more emotional because she's just like, oh, this is happening again and I'm finally going to give it to somebody.
I know it's not fair to Max,
right, that's
to project
not,
that
but
onto
I
him.
think that like if this was something you wanted to continue with, like the response would be like to validate that and say like, okay, I can understand you're upset, like clearly we have misaligned expectations, can you tell me what you'd like? To sort of head that off. But yeah, I don't think like sort of the emotional reaction is fair. I do think like sometimes it just happens.
Sometimes it happens,
you know,
but, like,
but you
it's
shouldn't
not
have to
worth,
be
like,
you know, the subject of that.
She wrote, "No, I would not like to call you. I enjoy when the man calls me." Ooh.
I mean, she's being
But
pretty
also-
direct in what she wants. Like, I don't think that's nasty.
But
per
also,
se.
if she wanted you to call her, she can give you her number. But that's just me being a little bit progressive.
Yeah.
Like, I would have been like, here, call me. Here's my number.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not a mind reader. You can't just, like, read her mind.
Right. Especially over text.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that was like, was that mean or was that just like direct? Maybe it's just direct.
Well, I think it was a little mean because she didn't text him for 45 minutes.
Oh, so like
when
the
they
wait
were
time.
the
was
wait
kinda
time
like,
was a little disrespectful, like a little mean. I don't know.
Everything is different when it's in person because then you don't have to think one way or another. It's just in your face. When it comes over text, it felt to me, it came off, I think you mentioned it, it hit a nerve in her or something when, yeah, it could have been, who knows, a past thing. But I mean, I hear what you're saying, but also like, you know, from my perspective, if this was like a general case and I didn't have a podcast that happens to talk about this kind of stuff, then I would have just ended the match right then and there.
Oh, you didn't end it?
No, because I need content. So, you know, I just wanted to see.
But is that fair to her? Like,
I'm not mentioning names. Nobody knows who it is.
okay, oh Max.
No, I mean, I didn't do anything. Meaning, here's what happened. So
Wait, are you? Did you apologize to her? Like, what happened at the end?
Apologize for what?
No, I'm just saying, like, what happened at the end? Like,
Here,
you
I'll tell
ended
you.
the match or
No, I
whatever.
didn't. Here's what happened. Here it is. No, not like I'm like fair. What's your number? Whatever. I'm not apologizing. Whatever. So she's like,
okay.
but before.
Well, maybe you just validate instead. Like, you don't need to apologize per se, but just be like, okay, like you're upset. That's okay.
What do you think? I mean, I did say fair. I'm like, okay, I get it.
Right. You
were kind of like, accepting it.
Like if
like
this
you
was
acknowledged how she was
like
feeling.
normally, I wouldn't even bother
Right.
because I'd just be so turned off. Then she's like, before I share, let me first check basic compatibility. I feel like, do you feel like she's like that pissed off, that TSA agent where for some reason you pissed them off just by looking at them, and then they're like, no, we need to do an extra screening now? Like that's how I felt. It's like, we're going to do a video chat. Hypothetically, if I asked for her number and then we would do the video chat, but now she wants more info. She wants my blood type.
Did she say that?
This
Or
is
is
going
that?
into a black hole. I think this woman's overthinking literally a Zoom call.
So again, like I literally just wanted to see where this is going to go. So she's like, what's your birth date?
Oh my god.
So,
wow.
So I would, again, if this was just
Is this like a background check?
I would never even respond
Did she
to
ask
this.
for your social security
So
number?
here's
I would. That's a great question.
Here's what makes it so interesting. She's like, what's your birth date? I tell her my birth date. She's like, thanks. And like, that's it. It was 11 a.m. And at 8 o'clock, I was like, I would have said something really like a passive aggressive.
Yeah.
I'm like, would you like my birth type, my blood type as well? But what I said was there anything else you'd like to know? Mm-hmm. She's like, not sure. Maybe we can do a call and see. It's just like bullcrap.
This is like after the video.
No, there was no video.
No,
anything.
after she
the-
asked.
Yeah, after she got upset with you about not calling.
Right.
Okay.
So then she's like,
I'm not sure what's going on
before,
anymore.
before I share my number, let me first check basic compatibility. What's your birth date? So
basic compatibility.
Basic compatibility.
Who is this woman?
So then I answered. I gave her my birth date again because I wanted to see what's going to happen. She says thanks. 8 hours later, there's nothing. I thought it was a follow-up question. 8 hours later, I say, was there anything else you'd like to know? You know, normally I'd say like, would you like to know my blood type, et cetera, whatever. But she's like, not sure. Maybe we can do a video call, whatever. And like, you know how turned off I am I was already turned off from the beginning, but this just like adds so much to it.
It sounds like a very convoluted exchange.
This isn't the first time this happens though. I've been dating for enough that I've ran into, it's not just a one-off. This is like a common occurrent type thing where like, I don't think there was a major transgression here that gets blown out of proportion.
I think first of all, it's a J swipe.
Shidduchim. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like this is not an investment. Like this is somebody you're talking to on an app, and like I think with J swipe, you really just have to dive in if you're gonna go out of the app, and you guys haven't even gone out of the app yet. So once you go out of the app and you speak to each other, either face to face, then it's worth thinking about. This is not even worth your headspace, Max.
I think it's definitely frustrating, but I agree with Sarah. It's just like important to actually, speak or meet and hash it out and see what the person's really like.
You're saying like, screw all this, get on a video chat, and then,
just
or
tell her,
are
like,
you like just delete it?
Yeah, like
What's
just be like, okay, is it okay if you still want to go out with her? You can just, or whatever, if you still want to Zoom call her, just be like, hey, so where are we standing with the Zoom call? Or like, would you like me to call you to Zoom call? And then if she is giving you like this roundabout situation, I would just leave her.
No, so like, my feeling about it is that I just lost interest.
Oh yeah, I would easily lose interest. I would close the match or whatever, like delete. What do you do on J-Swipe?
Yeah, you just
delete it. Delete the chat.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
She's not worth your headspace.
No, of course not. I would have deleted a while ago, but I just was curious on how this would turn out.
Oh. I am not. She sounds mean. I don't know.
We're off to a great start.
You have to weigh like how much are you interested, how much do you want to invest.
Yeah.
And it's just sometimes
if
frustrating.
If it's just gonna get upset,
yeah.
if it's gonna make you upset, then it's not worth it.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Whatever.
it's definitely
Okay.
these online conversations can definitely be super frustrating.
Yeah. Okay, my thought of the day is that I miss pasta. My husband's on a diet and he doesn't eat carbs, and I miss my pasta.
You can still eat it though.
I know, but I can't like keep it in the house. I feel bad if I do.
I mean, you can technically make it, eat it for yourself, and hint, you have a brother-in-law down the street who would love to have dinner.
We did give you our leftovers.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but feel free to make anything you want. Don't give to Shlomi and instead feed me.
Okay. That's good.
I
just
totally
miss the
identify with
spaghetti.
missing carbs, and I send
Yeah.
you like all my empathy.
Yeah,
That's
thank
rough.
you.
That's
Thank
really
you.
rough.
Yeah. And I'm not losing any weight. He's losing all the weight.
Is he losing weight?
He's losing weight, and I haven't lost like a single pound. And
You're
I'm
on the
this,
same diet?
I'm like eating the same stuff he is.
Yeah, diets are challenging.
Maybe if you just eat like a little bit of pasta a day, you'll lose weight.
I'm having
Maybe
my
there's like
daily,
a magical
I'm having
pasta
my
diet.
daily pasta diet.
Right? Like just to have a cup of pasta a day keeps the weight away.
That would probably happen with guys.
Just an ounce of cocaine keeps the doctor. Okay, that doesn't rhyme, does it? No.
But it does keep the weight
An
up.
ounce of
There you
cocaine a
go.
day
Turn
keeps
to
the doctor
drugs.
away.
No, I'm kidding.
Keeps the doctor away because you'll be dead.
Oh, I thought you were going to say because you don't go to a doctor, you don't want to get caught. Okay. Rachel, do you have a thought of the day?
Oh, well, my thought of the day is actually really exciting. We just received FDA approval, which is what our team has been working for frantically
that's
for at least a
exciting.
month.
Whoa.
So I keep thinking about like how I'm going to celebrate today.
Congrats.
Carbs.
Pasta,
a
right?
pasta bowl.
Pasta. I'll
Pasta
invite you,
party.
Sarah. You can come join me.
Oh my God. Just don't tell my husband. No, just
It'll
kidding.
be our secret.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Please like, subscribe, leave a 5-star review.
You know, we've gotten a bunch of 5-star reviews.
Ooh.
And it's not even like people, like, I don't really ask people. Like, these are actual reviews.
That's
No,
amazing.
I
That
didn't
is.
know that you
We're up
could
to
leave
7
a
right now.
5-star review.
Good data.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Sarah's learning what technology is.
All right. Until next time, guys.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye. And remember, everything will always be about shidduchim. Catch you in the next episode.